Greetings my fellow gamers! Today we're going to review Shadow Warrior 2, the brand new ninja first-person shooter. Is it good? Is it a Diablo 3 first-person shooter? Or is it a piece of shit? Here's the review. So the original Shadow Warrior was rebooted and released onto Steam 2013, and it was a smash success. People rave about the game for its snappy sword fighting and tight controls, intense gore, and dry as a bone Asian cheeky humor.
What, like life energy? Tai Chi bullshit kind of chi? I thought that was a bunch of crap to keep us quiet in Kung Fu class while Sifu took his morning dump.
You played as Lo Wang, a badass ninja who was charged with saving the world from an eternal demon doom known as the Shadow Realm and its chief evil, Hoji. In Shadow Warrior 2, you continue the story as Lo Wang 5 years after the conclusion of the first game when you kicked Hoji's ass and saved humanity. But all is not well. Despite his noble intentions, Lo Wang's efforts to annihilate the darkness instead corrupted the world, creating a strange and savage new order where humans and demons live side by side, and now Lo Wang must pick up again that samurai sword and purge the world of this new evil, and so begins the main quest of the game. So Shadow Warrior 1 was more or less based on conventional first-person shooter standards. Levels were mostly linear, the enemies with their own distinct attacks and weaknesses, and weapons escalated in power as the story played out. Add in a few Easter eggs and sprinkle on some naughty potty talk, and that's Shadow Warrior 1 in a nutshell. In Shadow Warrior 2, things are different. We now have a centralized hub where we can select missions and upgrade our gear via the loot we collect. The game also allows for up to 4 players cooperatively with scaling difficulty on every mission, and each mission outside the main story mission has procedural generation. So every time you hop into one or replay one, you're going to get a different flavor of the game. So it's really up to you how you want the pacing of the game to play out. You can focus on the story missions if you want that linear experience, or you can hop into any one of the available side missions or replay a mission to gather some loot and other items that you may have missed. So it's kind of like a self-paced game in a sense. You can think of it more akin to the pacing of The Witcher 3, more than the directive Witcher 2 formula, the latter being a better representation of the original Shadow Warrior. So you can have your cake and eat it too if you want it, or you can just plow through the game, it's up to you. And when you're on those missions, things will be chaotic, much more so than they were in the original. Demons come in droves and hordes, and the combat is just as reactive and snappy as you remember it. Shadow Warrior 2 features a procedural damage system for its melee combat. You can attack from a variety of angles, and depending on where you strike, you'll have different moves and weapon effects, as well as different damage sources. Demons in Shadow Warrior 2 appear to be made of jelly. You can carve those bastard demons up like a roast turkey at Thanksgiving and watch their dismembered goop and body parts fall to the ground. God damn is it satisfying. But if you want to ditch the samurai swords, you've also got your choice of SMGs, assault rifles, explosives, rocket launchers, and a slew of other goodies. There's about 70 weapons to choose from, as well as a loot system to upgrade your gear. You can find gems during your missions that have varying buffs or status effects, such as freezing damage, adding poison to your rockets, all sorts of stuff. You'll have to decide which stones to socket in your favorite weapons. And last but not least, you've also got abilities like the ability to cloak like a predator, use force push a la Darth Vader, and a lot more. Gameplay is broken up into item finding, horde combat, and boss battles for the most part. To help you stay alive through all your demon encounters, you're given the ability to dodge in multiple directions and kite enemies. The best players in Shadow Warrior 2 will be the ones who can successfully and gracefully dance around the levels and avoid as much damage as possible. Aiding you in this dance are the new additions to mobility this go around, having the freedom to skip across rooftops using a combination of dashes and double jumps, and to dive into a crowd of enemies whirling those spinny blades of death is just so satisfying. And now that you've got a pretty good grasp of the gameplay, the game comes slathered in an amazing color palette. Rich, dark, yet incredibly welcoming and coated with bright tones. It pops with an insane amount of detail thanks to the crazy nice particle effects, lighting, and the hazing effects. Aesthetically speaking, it's also consistent with the theme of the game, a nice contrast of warm and cold colors depending on which level you jump into. It all makes sense from a visual and storytelling perspective. As far as the cons and opportunities go, Shadow Warrior 2 can seem unfocused at times. It's a game made for replayability and endless co-op shenanigans due to its procedural generation. This lack of focus can hurt the game at times and muffle the overall experience for those looking for a more centralized game. It's kind of ironic that the thematic nature of Shadow Warrior 2 is indeed incredibly centralized due to its hub world. It's a rest stop, a place to focus yourself and prepare for the challenges ahead in a safe spot. In spite of this, the game can feel at conflict with itself at times because the hub area and the procedural generation often feel at odds with each other when you step back and examine the game. But in spite of that, I really enjoyed Shadow Warrior 2 more than 90% of the games I've played this year. Due to its exciting and fast-paced gameplay, the kinetic fun you can have from a game like this just can't be rivaled, and no other game does first-person melee combat as good as Shadow Warrior 2. I kept coming back because the fluidity of the game begged me to jump in and get right in the middle of it. And what a pool that is to jump into. It's frantic, gory, fun, addictive, and the college dorm room humor adds a sweet cherry on top of it.
Shh, be very, very quiet. I'm hunting dickheads.
And if you take your time with Shadow Warrior 2 and stop to soak it all in, do all the optional objectives and replay the missions with your buddies, you'll have a monster of a game on your hands that you won't want to put down. It all feels very Diablo-y too. The randomness, the loot, the weapon customization, the co-op, and I like that a lot. I'm gonna have to give Shadow Warrior 2 the big thumbs up. Obviously I played the shit out of this game last night and had some early time with it too, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon in my library. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more reviews of games and other discussion videos with interesting topics, subscribe to Downward Thrust right now to be notified when I release future videos. Thanks very much, guys. Have a kick-ass day, and we'll see you next time.